Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. GTA 6 is finally close, November 19th, 2026. That is the date that everybody has circled on their calendar now, but I do need to have a real conversation with you guys, and because there is a very real chance a lot of you guys are not going to play this game the second it unlocks, and this is not because you don't want to, and it's not because you didn't pre-order, but it's because of stuff that's genuinely out of your hands. So let's break down the actual reasons you might be sitting there on day one just staring at a loading bar instead of driving around Vice City, and let's get into it. So reason number one is, and this is the big one that everyone's talking about, and that is the file size. So Rockstar has not officially confirmed a number yet. However, I do want to be straight with you on that. Nothing is locked in as of right now, but based on insider reports and just looking at how these games have scaled over the last few years, most estimates are putting GTA 6 somewhere between 250 gigabytes to 300 to 350 gigabytes. Once you include the day one patch, some outlets are even floating higher. So just think about that for a second. Red Dead Redemption 2 was launched around 150 gigs, and GTA 5 with years of online content bolted on sits around 100 to 110. So GTA 6 is supposedly a bigger map, denser world, better textures, way more voice acting, so it tracks that this thing is going to be an absolute monster on your hard drive. So if you're on PS5 with the base internal storage or an Xbox Series S with just 364 gigs usable, you could genuinely not have the room. So step one, and I cannot stress this enough, go ahead and check your storage right now, today, not launch week, and delete stuff you're not playing. And if you need to, grab an external SSD ahead of time, because those sell out and prices spike the second a big release gets close. Because if GTA 6 is about 300 to 350 gigabytes, then it's going to be a very big problem, especially on launch day, if you don't have enough, storage. And reason number two is going to be the preload timing. So the good news is that Rockstar expected open preloading around November 12th, about a week before launch. So for anybody who's pre-ordered digitally, so that's actually them being pretty generous. It gives you a buffer instead of trying to download, 200 to 300 gigabytes, the morning of. But here is the catch. Preload only helps you if your storage is already sorted and if you're actually eligible. So that means digital pre-order, right platform or right region. So if you're pretty much, planning on grabbing a physical copy day one from a store, I've got bad news, because most reporting suggests that the physical edition is basically just a code in a box, not a full game on a disc. So Blu-ray discs cap out around 128 gigs, and if the game is anywhere near those upper estimates, it physically will not be on a disc anyway. So pretty much, yeah, so it will not fit on a disc anyway. So that physical copy still means that downloading the whole thing from scratch on launch day, competing with everybody else. So which brings me to reason number three as well, which is servers and sheer demand. Thinking about how many millions of people are going to download and boot this game up in the exact same 24-hour window. We're talking about one of the most anticipated releases of all time. It's in gaming history, maybe ever. So pretty much all time. So when that many people, are hitting Rockstar's, when that many people are hitting Rockstar's servers, and it's just gonna be a very, very big issue, and content all getting hammered simultaneously, pretty much. Things are going to slow down, and we've seen this play out before with other massive launches. Login queues, verification servers timing out, or download speeds crawling because everyone's pulling from the same pipes at the same time. It's not that the game is broken, it's just that the infrastructure does have limits, and demand like this just pushes right up against them. So reason number four is also going to be day one patches. So even after that massive install finishes, don't expect to just hit play immediately. Almost every Big modern release ships with an additional patch that has to download and install before the game even lets you in, and sometimes another several gigabytes on top of everything else. So you could sit there just watching one bar finish only to get hit with the second bar right away. And pretty much, reason number five and this one is less talked about, and it's pretty much going to be launch day is historically a target for outside interferences. So big releases like this tend to attract DDoS attempts and other headaches, aimed at knocking servers offline just to cause chaos, especially for anything with online or account verification tied to it. Rockstar's obviously going to have this on their radar and be prepared, especially with all the time and money they spent on GTA 6, but, still, it is something that, to be prepared about. And it's also another variable that's completely outside of your control as a player. And reason number six is just plain old hardware readiness. If your console needs firmware, or if your console needs a firmware update, or if your internet provider picks that exact week to have an outage, or if your router's been acting all up, or just things like that, all that stacks on top of everything else, I just mentioned individually, these are minor annoyances, but on launch day, when everything's already stretched thin, they can be the difference between playing at midnight or playing 2 days later. And but the real talk is your action plan, which is going to be clear out your storage today. Do not wait. If you're pre-ordering digitally, get everything locked in now so you're eligible for that preload window. And just keep an eye out on official Rockstar challenges as we get closer, because that's when we'll actually get a confirmed file size instead of all of these estimates. And temper your expectations for launch day itself. Go in expecting some sort of friction, because that's when the whole world is trying to log in to the same game at the same time. A little chaos is, almost guaranteed. And that's everything I've got for you guys on this one. Let me know in the comments what platform you're playing on and whether your storage is actually ready for this thing, because I have a feeling a lot of you are about to find out the hard way. Anyways, if this did help you guys out, drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and I've got way more GTA 6 coverage coming in as we get closer to November, and I will see you guys in the next one.